Hello, and welcome back to Sharing a Chapter a Day. This is Do, Ra, me, and today I will be reading Chapter 98 of Engagement in Peril by Dara, Odoe, Sok. Chapter 98 is titled How Shinshin and I, the Christian Bastard, Met. Shinshin and I were thicker than water, one can say. Our bond was as strong as one can have between two men who were almost practically brothers. Brothers from another mother, that is. I met Shinshin Nagami during basic at Great Lakes, Illinois, during that rancid, humid summer, late July of 1995. That night I arrived to basics, and while being hustled and yelled at by the RDCs to shut the fuck up, stand in line, and piss into a cup, I didn't pay much attention to the other recruits around me. I was too scared and focused on only worrying about myself then. But Shinshin was different. Being his capricious self, he observed and took in everything. He was keen and focused that way. I didn't even notice him then. He later told me that he saw me standing in line. One of the shortest person there, he laughed as he spoke of it. If not the shortest, he giggled as he told me how he observed me then. He said that I had a serious demeanor then, standing face forward in line, erect as though I was Uncle Sam's tool. My face was clean shaven and my head was already bald, and I was much shorter than the average 17-year-old male who had just graduated from high school. He noticed the nail head-sized round black love moles atop my right lips and the inch-wide deep embedded scar atop my left eyebrow, and also mentioned that my head barely turned anywhere while I was standing in line, that my eyes were focused on the back of the taller guy in front of me, and he even knows that I had problem pissing into a cup while someone was watching me, and that I had to get back to the back of the line and drink some more water just to pee successfully the second time around during the urine collection and drug screening process station. Shinshin seemed to have photographic memories of his surrounding and the events that went on that moment, and he would recall things that most people forget or take for granted. It's one of the reasons why I came to admire him as we grew to be friends and shipmates during our entire training session together at Great Lakes, Illinois, during mid-Navy boot camp. To me, Shinshin seemed more focused and more intelligent than those I've come to admire and as intellectual during my recent lifespan. I can say now that I truly admire Shinshin for always being himself. No matter what and no matter the situation, he never swayed from being himself, even though he had just experienced the love he had for a fake person who had ruined his entire life. He just kept going without fuss. Rejoice, that's all we can do, Dara. Rejoice, he often said to me during our stint. I regret not being able to be honest with him then, and I wish I had told him the truth before it was too late. I so wish I could turn back the hands of time and try to prevent him from taking his own life then. If I could, I would. But then again, it was him who told me not to dwell on the past and past mistakes, but to rejoice and find peace, comfort, and put faith and trust in the Lord's hand, and all will come to provision. Now, I have never met Shinshin before in my life until basics. I had never seen him until we were all hustled into our living quarters miles away from the main gate at Ship 13. Later on, as we learned from each other and slowly built relationship, he told me he was from a small town in Southern California, a town close to where I grew up, a place called Signal Hill. What the fuck? He was right. Signal Hill is really close to where I had lived, just across street from the city of Pineapple Grove in the middle of Long Beach, California. And I didn't see him that night at the DoubleTree Hotel in Los Angeles either. Where was I? Where was I room? Where I was room and boarded in before catching my flight to Great Lakes then the next morning. Was he there? He wasn't with the number of recruits that was in the hotel basement getting breakfast at the staff dining room that morning, or on the charter bus that escorted a handful of us to LAX airport after breakfast through South Central Los Angeles either. Where the hell was he then that the whole time I was being processed into the United States Navy? I don't remember seeing him at the military obligation swearing ceremony either, or at the interrogation office that I spent a good hour or two being hassled by some beefed-up African-American naval lieutenant. And where the hell was he when we were given our one and only phone call at the phone depot before being processed and walked off to our barracks? It's weird. It's like he appeared out of nowhere into basic at Great Lakes, Illinois then. Unlike me, Shinshin did not enlist on his own term and merit. He was somewhat persuaded by the courts to sign up for military services rather than serving time in the California state prison. Turned out that his delinquency during his juvenile years, going from foster home, has gotten him in some deep shit, and his only way out was to serve several years in the armed services instead of serving time in a state penitentiary. Shinshin chose to serve the country that had raised and molded him then. He was doing his time, giving back for all the sins and crime he had previously committed. Shinshin was making amends. If I agreed to do time in the armed services, my juvenile record and delinquency problem would be sealed and expunged for good, and I could go on with my adult life without having to go back to jail. He giggled as he told me some of his past and why he was there at Naval Boot Camp in the first place. We came from different worlds then. Shinshin and I were two opposite. I had a clean record and a clean face, but unlike Shinshin, my thoughts were cold and menacing, and his was out in the open, and he had no shame in telling people where he had been or what he had done. That's what I like about Shinshin, his honesty and direct approach toward life and its constant changes. Where I was timid and shunned an audience, Shinshin welcomed criticism and judgment. That town he grew up and about, I was familiar with Signal Hill though. I tracked up there all the time on my Huffy mountain bike just to see the whole city and beaches below. Back then it was just dirt and hills, several mechanical oil drills such, very few houses and very few residents then as well. It's isolated and boring then, of course, of which his only attraction was the park atop the hill to overlook the city of Pineapple Grove and Long Beach, and the stretch of beaches below, several miles away from the Signal Hill area. Signal Hill isn't like that anymore. Oh no, not one bit. Signal Hill is now crowded and covered with lush green plants, flowers, and expensive home, which only wealthier people with decent jobs can afford. I have fucked and fooled around on and about the Signal Hill several times with Benevolence and Delilah while we were in relations with Shinshin then. Now back to basics. Thank you for listening. This is the end of Chapter 98. Be on the lookout for Chapter 99, titled Boot Camp and Navy Basics. This is Do, Ra, me, and I'll see you later. Thank you.